And welcome back to the fight between Splyce and G2. God damn, we got a close game one, and I really hope we have more. As you can tell, I am extremely excited for this series. Splyce have side selection. They picked blue. Doesn't mean anything to you? Not really? No? I got a question for you.
Hey, it made one thing.
Tell me.
It will be hard to get a counter pick for Wonder.
Oh, and that's important because the Splyce team comp in game one was extremely specific. The top lane pick that could jump onto a mobile AD carry and the black shield that protect them, totally not rehearsed. What did you think of the prep and the planning from Splyce?
I think it was awesome. I love the fact that not only did they have that Camille Morgana combo that was so special with the black shield to keep AD carry in place, they also had more champs to follow up. Galio, Jarvan. So it was so easy for, not easy, it was hard, but the composition meant that Splyce could have 3 members dive the back line of G2 in every single team fight. But the thing that impressed me the most was the fact they executed it. Because so many have tried to pick something like that where they dive the back line with multiple champions and then one guy's missing or the other guy's already died or whatever, but they coordinated it. 3-4 team fights in a row.
Yep.
That was actually beautiful.
While down 10,000 gold, while Supers inside their base, Splyce showed up. They showed up prepared, they showed up ready. So the next question I have to Fisher as we look at the bans here, Xayah, Tristana, as well as Kalista Elise. So what is Splyce's next move?
Well, there is only one AD carry left that adds mobility of the standard AD carries. That's Caitlyn. But she was nerfed quite a bit on this patch, so that's not a good first pick. And it is Lucian first pick. Most likely for the mid lane. I want to add that you can flex it to the bottom lane if needed, but Sencooks did show some very good Lucian games once we saw him played earlier in the split. He had some big individual outplays, and he's also taking it away from Perks.
It'll be a very different style to the previous game. You touched on that mobility, there's Caitlyn.
So, the reason we also see Jarvan this early, there's obviously more reasons than him just being really strong. It's also because, again, we're running out of AD carries that can escape a Jarvan ulti. If Splyce wants to play something like a Varus on Ashe, late game fights, they cannot get out of that big engage from G2 unless they have flash ready. So G2 do not only grab the Jarvan for themselves, which is a good pick, they also take away the other AD carry with a jump, the net, to get out of it. So this AD carry is not escaping unless flash is up.
Well, look at it this way. Kobe's picked an AD carry that's hopefully never going to be in range. Maybe he's just going to stand in an ultimate. If Splyce can do a better job with their vision. Gragas and Jhin round out the 2 AD carries for Splyce. And G2 have one last pick in phase 1.
All right, will Perks get his mid laner and then ban out? So he doesn't get banned out in the mid lane, and that is the case with the LeBlanc coming in. Didn't want to risk Splyce removing 2 mid laners more and give Sencooks an even better matchup with the Lucian. Very explosive mid lane matchup. They can definitely go back and forth in here. What Lucian can do if he feels pressured is go Hexdrinker, but he's not against an AP jungler right now, so it would only be against Perks. The Caitlyn though, coming into this week, I was kind of like, meh, I think Caitlyn, after the nerfs, laning phase sucks. Looking more and more at it, if you do have support counter pick, you can still get some pretty good lanes for her. But again, more importantly, she has a net. She can get out of engages.
The mobility, the safety. Although, to be fair, all the safety in the world didn't help Spence Tristana a couple times.
But that was the Camille Morgana combo. The very specific combo that we should not see go over to Splyce again.
And this is what I was trying to allude to earlier. It's like, well, look, if Splyce came in that prepared, they had the early game that was phenomenal. They had an answer in late game team fights. They just had a weak mid game. Now what's the next step in their plan? They've banned away those mobile AD carries, locked the Lucian, banned away Tahm Kench. I want to see how this draft shapes up and see how well they can play the early game once more.
A lot of teams do like to play around the Jhin after level 6 in the bottom lane because he's such a good setup, you know, with his W, with his long-range ulti as well. And Lucian is the kind of AD carry who can win his lane and then go to that side lane again and actually have an impact. So that might be the same kind of strategy for Splyce as in game 1, just not relying on like a Galio ulti this time around. Camille and Morgana are technically still open, but you don't want to just randomly blind pick the Morgana here.
And of course for G2, they can either counter pick top or support, depending how this plays out. I mean, Renekton is still up and available, another great pick for expect this split. Maokai is going to be the next ban, so another one of these tanks. So where do the teams land in this next phase?
That is a good question. Leaving the Gnar open could have meant they want to lock that in, but then they would actually be open for that Camille just like last time. So they take away the Gnar instead, want to maybe get a matchup that's not too good for Camille, so that won't be a choice from Wonder. They are hovering the Cho'Gath. Should be a top lane Cho'Gath, as we don't see a lot of jungle Cho'Gath anymore.
Has been played once by Expect.
I wonder if... Is Wanda going to play Trundle against this Cho'Gath? I think actually that's something he could do and just take over the side lane completely. It is not necessarily the best when it comes to like roaming and joining his team, like the Camille was somewhere he could do it on. Kennen is banned as a pick he could have gone for top lane, and same with the Cho'Gath. Sorry, with the Gnar. Oh, Kled is also open.
I mean, there's a couple options,
nice.
Right? And for Wonder, he definitely prefers the in-your-face style champion. So locks in the Kled, got some of that engage to jump onto the back line. Not a lot of AD damage that AP damage that I can see just yet.
No, it is a very heavy physical damage comp that will struggle to break a Black Shield as well. And funny enough, just as Mithy picked a Thresh in game 1 and then got the Morgana counter pick against him, he might do the same.
Now I want to see how well Splyce can play around this Kled, because they've played it several times this split, and it hasn't been awe-inspiring. When I remember their performances, their engages, kind of disconnected, kind of on different pages. But it's quarterfinals now. It's put up or shut up, and Splyce did that in game 1.
Yeah, I think the Kled and the Lucian can be very successful in this game, but I am afraid when I'm looking at the copy Jhin. You are against the engage of a Jarvan, the follow-up of LeBlanc and Cho'Gath with both CC and damage. A Feast, by the way, will one-shot the Jhin in the late game. So if he doesn't have flash in a fight, he's not getting out. Oof. And this Black Shield from Mithy, one, it's picked against the Thresh, but with all the physical damage on the side of Splyce, it actually gets really difficult to break it in the late game. And that's a lot of time you're blocking CC.
Yeah, and of course the Gragas, barrels, whatever you want to try and get rid of Expect with, it's just not going to work. I really like that point about the Black Shield being somewhat unbreakable against an AD-heavy team composition. Ladies and gentlemen, you saw game 1. It was exceptionally entertaining. Jump on Twitter and vote for who you think will win. And I'm going to ask a question now that I want to talk about later. And the question is the G2 Esports era over? We'll find out if Splyce can take the series. They're 1-0 up in this best of 5. And they need to show us this all AD comp led by Kled if it can take down the defending champions. Senkak, some perks on your screen. Some big words against one another as we load it up. And of course, locking in Lucian against Perks is beautiful, because Perks has had good laning phases on the champion, but not the greatest success as a team with the champion.
Exactly. G2 Esports lost most of their Lucian games for many different reasons, but mainly just a poor, done a poor job playing around a fit Lucian. Let's see if Splyce can do it. I will say that the draft last game felt a little bit easier for Splyce to execute early on with the Galio ulti to go to these side lanes, as we saw in the game with a Camille in the top lane for Wonder. This time around with the full AD comp, it is difficult. They might go for the AP choice with the Gragas for his jungle choice and not actually go Cinderhulk, just to add a little bit of magic damage in there. But it's not a lot.
He's got no real front line.
I mean, he will still get some tank items, obviously, and be tanky, but just less than before. And because one of the problems you have with all these all AD comps is that you are in a tank meta where champions like Jarvan and Cho'Gath, they can stack a lot of armor, and it gets really difficult then to take them down. Luckily, Jhin doesn't have to go lethality. He can just go for a normal crit build to actually kill the tanks, and he will be okay.
Well, Expect has played Cho'Gath once before. We talked a lot about the tanks. He had a pretty good performance. 5-0-8 on that champion. Do you want to know what his CSD was at 15 minutes?
5 million.
23 CS more than his opponent at 15 minutes. So it was a pretty heavy-handed win. Regardless, G2, let's see if they can do the same thing again as Trashy's got a strong leash.
Yeah, when you have a Kled top lane though, playing around him in the early game when he has the bear trap on a rope can be very effective, and he's also against a champion that can't really escape. You see a little preview here. Oh, that's it, you know. What are you doing as Cho'Gath? You can't dash away from anything. Well, that means...
Skull gets popped, pocket pistol comes out.
If you have a jungler who can gank, you might give that jungler a great leash on his red buff, so he rushes to the top side, and maybe this Cho'Gath gets body slam flashed and dies.
Boom. Trashy on one of, if not his signature champion.
Okay, hopping to the top side.
Let's see what they can do with it. Take a quick glimpse down bottom. Mickey gets caught between the uprights.
Oh, wow. What are we seeing here? Gragas, he's on his way. Let's hover up to Gragas after the trade in mid lane.
Right, teleport's coming in from Expect, though. He's
Trick is behind him. He's reading it. He's like, yeah, you're going to gank top lane, obviously.
Well, Trashy's gone too deep. Now all of a sudden, Wonder's the man that's in trouble. Bear Trap on a rope comes out. Skull is still with him for a little while longer. He's trading with the jousting and the damage. The vicious strikes, body slam, flash. Junglers trading positions. First blood available. Wonder's the target. Trick takes him down. Trashy's looking for the cooldowns as the Rupture knocks him up. And G2 counter gang.
Oh, this was supposed to be Splyce's gank against the Cho'Gath, getting Wonder ahead, but Expect had early recalled level 1 and TP'd back. Trashy and Wonder, they're still trying to kill him.
Trick is still around. Skull is available. Let's see. Rupture comes down. Trashy's in trouble. Teleport's coming down from
Trevor.
Perks. Perks gets himself a kill and double buffs. Skull's not going to be enough to save anybody as Wonder is now getting taken down. Clint is dead and Perks is stoked.
Oh, it's gone all wrong now. This was not supposed to happen, not like this.
Oh, come on. Senkax, flash in. Go for it. Is he going to dash over the wall? Relentless pursuit. Looking for Trick. Perk is going to be... Oh, the Krug's ending up helping out. One more shot.
Okay.
Now Senkax gets double buffs. Is he really going to be able to catch Expect? Expect is now...
Oh,
ring,
yeah.
Ring around the rosy. No, come on. Juke. Left, right, left. Where are they going, Deficio?
Well, he went to the top side. Expect walked to the bottom side. Meaning that Perks can return to his mid lane and actually still get all the farm. Double buffed over Senkooks. He does try and save the day at least a little bit for Splyce. So, because Trashy couldn't gank due to Expect being back in base and had to TP into the lane, he walked in to check red buff first. And Trick just snuck behind him. So Trick gets the first gank, and when the engage happens, Expect can still flash away, and Wonder, no way out from him. The first trade is lost, and then it gets even worse.
What do you think of this tower dive and how risky it is?
It's so greedy when TP is available for LeBlanc as well, and there's double knockups on the side of Splyce, and sorry, on the side of G2, and really backfired.
Oh man, it really did. Okay, so right at the end of it, Senkax is able to clean up, at least get a kill, and double buffs of his own. It's a rare opportunity when both mid laners get double buffs. I mean, before 5 minutes.
I mean, this game, yes, what a great start. But it's what we talked about, you know, with that early gank, try and get Wonder ahead. They've been playing around Wonder in the early game, both games now.
Yes.
And then at level 6, they changed it to the bottom lane. So we're waiting for Kobe to hit level 6. Right now, they need to do some damage control around still that top side, where they gave some kills over.
We'll see. Trashy ended up winning that smite fight against Trick at his Merkwolf camps. If you look at CS, advantages in the top lane for Wonder and for Senkax in the mid lane because of Perks' TP. Look at all the vision that G2 has set up. And yes, it's a 1,000 gold lead for G2, but it's mostly concentrated in Perks, who is now coming up against a Hex Drinker AD carry.
Yeah, one of the choices as a Lucian against these AP assassins is, of course, the Hex Drinker. Also, Senkooks is running heal in this game. My voice just decided to give up.
Deficio, there's a lot more games. Don't lose your voice, man.
It's puberty, that's all, you know. I got it very late. I'm only 25, you know.
With the distortion. And both junglers, Trashy and Trick, reading one another's plays. Or at least anticipating, reading the map. Maybe that's a more fair thing to say.
I love that Trashy and Trick are literally the same person in this game here. They're all looking the same lane at the same time. It's Trick who won the first little battle. Trashy, he's trying again. Remember, get Wonder ahead in the top lane. Shut down Cho'Gath early.
It's damage control and Expect, though. He's got a lot of minions to work with. No flash.
Nice.
This should just be trivial. Vicious Strikes comes out. Trashy's going to help out, get an assist to his name. Feast comes down from Expect. He's fighting into the minions. And eventually gets taken down. Clean, it was expected.
And right here, we see why some teams do not want to play Cho'Gath. They're like, you know what? I'm a champion in the top lane, that when I'm trading, I'm often pushing, and I have 0 ways of escaping ganks. Like, if you're not flash ready, you're just walking away. Yep. So it's really easy to just camp him, and that's what we're seeing here from Trashy. And I know some of them were unsuccessful in the start for other reasons.
There's a teleport to Fisher. There's a teleport. Wonder has got no Skull. Bear Trap on a rope comes out. Wonder's trying to get a pocket pistol. Buys some time. Here comes Skull. And Wonder's able to escape. All right, we've started game 2 as we ended game 1 with a lot of craziness. I actually want to quickly remind everybody who's watching what the gold graph looked like for game number 1. because it started well, then it went not so well, and technically, Splyce ended up winning with a deficit, which happens so rarely.
We got so late in the game that AD Carries had 6 items, and the goal didn't even matter anymore, but it showed great early game into weak mid game, into then a great comeback in the late game from Splyce. This time they started weak in the early game by losing all those kills top lane, but they got a good little kill onto Wonder now. Very important for him that he keeps getting ahead, because you see the trades here. He can trade against Expect 1v1. The problem for Splyce is late game team fighting against the Jarvan and Cho'Gath with a Jhin. It's not going to be fun for Corby.
Not going to be fun, but maybe Splyce can do it. Death Sentence connects onto Sven. He's got flash and heal. 90 calibers backwards. The curtain is called. Sven is in trouble, but Mithy's body blocking the damage now onto Mickey.
Wait, who's in trouble
He's
now?
in trouble. The flay comes out. Mickey's running for his life. Ace in the hole. Body blocked by Corby. Teleport's coming down. It's Perks that's channeling it. Flash is available to him. He flashes forward. The chain doesn't find a target. Corby's gone in for Mithy. Not going to find the deadly flourish. Corby's reloading on Whisper, and G2 get 2.
Oh, that reloading sucked for Corby. He didn't get the kill. Perks with the second great teleport in this game. He's so fast actually joining the lanes. He's losing CS on it, but he's getting kills. 3-0 LeBlanc. Look, top lane, they want to get Wonder further ahead.
Expect knows it's happening, though.
Like,
He's running.
I'm out of here.
Nope. Drop the mic, walk away. Tower first blood, though, could be possible with 3 members here, 2 of whom heavy auto attackers, though Senkux is not committing on this wave.
All right, so Expect is back to defend. Sees Splyce walk away. They do keep the tower alive. That was a big play in the bottom lane. Started as actually a very risky 2v2 fight that Sven was losing at first, but then suddenly they turned it around against Mickey, and Perks comes down and saves the day with this LeBlanc here. And who cares about your laning stats if all you're doing is going to the side lanes and killing people? That seems a bit more effective, at least. Let's look at this. So, no Black Shield from Mithy. Must have been on cooldown, which means Sven eats the entire combo from Splyce. Mithy then blocks the ulti, gets a lot of damage with the minions as well on Mickey. And then the TP happens from Perks. He's running back from base, joins in. There's no way out here for the Thresh.
The synergy between both bot lanes is actually beautiful to behold.
Look at the reload. Look at the reload.
Oh,
It's not ready.
Whisper not ready to send Mithy to the graveyard.
Yep.
He feels it. He feels it. Corby and Mickey, though, they have had a very good split. Continually showing up and being a carry for Splyce. And now they're going to do it hard mode. They're down 1,500 gold to the rest of the team at 10 minutes.
Yeah, last year it was actually Corby and Mickey who were kind of looked at as the bottom lane that could try and challenge Sven and Mithy down in that bot lane kingdom.
Back when both teams were in the finals.
Back when they both made the final, both teams made Worlds. We don't talk about what happened at Worlds for either of the teams, but Corby and Mickey then in the spring split was pretty quiet. Not the same kind of progression, it feels like. This split, though, again, as you highlighted there, we've seen more and more from him. Not necessarily in the laning phase, but I think outside of lane. Splyce have relied a lot on Corby as one of the late game big threats.
Especially on Civil with 6 items.
I mean, that works.
You know, game 1 for both teams, there was a lot of good stuff and bad stuff for the squads to work on. We can see Death Sentence connects onto Mithy. The barrel comes out as well. Body Slam finds the target. So Corby will get another kill for Splyce. Trick on the back end. He used the Cataclysm. Curtain Call will tag. Perks is going to look for Senkux. What? 2 chains. Not going to find the kill, though, as the Ocean Drake is tagged. G2 get 1, but lose 1 themselves.
So you told me, Trevor, before the game started, this could be a slow one. You know, a lot of macro talk and vision and all that kind of stuff, and yet I feel like this game has been non-stop fighting.
But you're the smart one. Can you tell me why?
I'm not the smart one, but I pretend to be.
You pretend real well.
Thank you.
But Deficio, my expectation was that both G2 and Splyce, they've definitely been more well-known for their map play, for their macro, for that style of team play, and now we've got a lot of exciting stuff.
See, I would agree with last year's Splyce, but I feel like Splyce this year, like, the macro's not really been there. Like, they've not been like a great, you know, rotation, shot calling, whatever team. Like, I think they've tried to rely a lot on like trashy snowballing a specific lane, and then that person tries to kind of take over the game. And we've seen more from them in this series already, I feel, in terms of actually executing an early game plan. Like, plays like the ones we're seeing now, that was a really good setup against Mithy in the bottom lane, and it's often Trashy who's involved. When he goes to the lane, he needs then backup, and we've seen Senkux move, we've seen Wonder be part of it, and it's been somewhat new from Splyce, but a bit of what they've tried to do during the split.
I mean, if you go back to middle of the split when they took down the Unicorns of Love, back when UOL was considered to be the best performing team early on in summer, Splyce went toe-to-toe with them with team fighting comps and won.
Yeah.
And that was something that nobody could have predicted going into the day.
And then, funny enough, the next week, Splyce played teamfight comps and lost everything on it. So it's one of the reasons Splyce have been a hard team to kind of predict, because it's been so night and day, and they haven't really locked down one play style. We're seeing more early game focus today in 2 games. Maybe that is the new Splyce play style.
Well, they are 2,000 gold down this time around, so damage control needs to happen in full effect. Sinkux, relentless pursuit forward. And they get tagged up by those ethereal chains. And while we've seen up and downs from Splyce, all split long, it's important to remember that as we're in quarterfinals. It's a different setup. It's a different vibe. You have to bring different tools. And G2 losing the first game in a best of 5, we've seen that happen plenty of times. But the way they adapt, the way they change throughout a series, that's what's kept G2 as the 3-time back-to-back-to-back EU LCS champions.
Yeah, now looking at this game specifically, the Cho'Gath was targeted early game, survived most of it. He's 0-1-3, even in farm against the Kled. So Expect is doing fine in this game, and he's going to be a key member later on against some AD carry like Jhin, who can't escape that job and engage, as we talk about. And also it makes it difficult for Lucian, because Lucian is a very low-range carry. So when he joins team fights, he often puts himself at risk to deal maximum damage. You can't really sit and get a full rotation of spells and autos off as Lucian without getting targeted. Bot laner and Mickey.
Good black shield. Flash comes out. Cataclysm comes down. Mickey's already used the flash. Death sentence. Not going to pull anyone further back, but it looks like the teleport was cancelled.
Or interrupted by Expect. He did move forward. Let's see bot lane still.
All right, 4th shot comes out. Kobbe needs to reload. Curtains are called backwards. First shot is dodged away from. Second and third will actually tag on the Mimic. Body block mechanics from Perks. Splyce have a 4-man stack in the bottom lane. Will they put any pressure on this tower?
So Wonder used that TP that either got cancelled or interrupted in the top lane. Perks joined in, instantly stepped away because Sinkux was already here. And now everyone will go back towards their respective lanes. Might be a fight in mid.
Well, you can't really catch a Perks, sorry, LeBlanc, with flash and W. Easily escapes.
Let me slow down.
Oh, we do indeed. Slowest we've had for a while.
Okay, so Splyce, just like the last game, started with the Wonder ganks, went bot lane after that, been trying to play around the Jhin here. Not a lot of success with those plays, as they actually ended up losing some kills, and Wonder gets a good trade.
Ooh.
Remember there's
two minions though.
Yeah, there's always the thing about Cho'Gath is you feel like you're winning the fight, and then he gets his rank 2 feast very soon, and then suddenly he's winning the fight.
We'll see what Skarl can do to help out in that regard. Replay of the teleport. Looks like it's going to be a rupture.
Yep, there we go. Gets the interrupt just over the wall.
Thank you, observers, for highlighting that. As Deficio, we've crested the 15-minute mark, and as is my job as a play-by-play, to inform you that it's still a 1,500 gold lead for G2. They got the first dragon. No towers under heavy siege just yet, although Kobbe and Mickey's has been chipped away at over the last 15 minutes.
And still favoring the G2 late game with stacking all this armor here. Let's see top lane Trash. He wants another kill.
All right, flash is available to him. Expect has already channeled his. There's no minions to work with. And Skarl still alive.
No TP from Perks. He used it bot lane just before here, so Expect is on his own. We'll have to back away, but now G2 should just get the bot lane tower as fast as possible.
All right, you can see Kobbe and Mickey in the mid lane. It's a bit of a race. However, advantage to Splyce is they're already on the tower. Tower first blood available and secured here by Splyce. Sven will at least respond with one in kind. And G2 maintain their gold lead. They maintain some semblance of control this game because of this craziness in the early play.
Exactly. We're waiting for Wonder to get his Black Cleaver, get some of that armor shred against the Ninja Tabby and Righteous Glory on the side of Expect, and try and see if we can actually win the 1v1 in the side lane. The awesome thing about taking Kled's tower, or tower 4 Kled, is that if he can actually push the lane to the enemy tier 2 tower, he's such a threat when he leaves the lane. Because when he goes missing, you have to call, careful mid laner, because you might have to ulti from top lane down towards the mid lane, and if you are overextended as Perks or Sven, you will get engaged on. So you always have to respect that from Wonder, but he needs the Black Cleaver.
Well, in the previous game, Wonder's engages were pivotal in closing out the map. And something that we haven't spoken about a huge amount this series yet, is Trick's performance on Zach in game 1. He's started really well on Jarvan, and I do want to look at Trick a little bit because he's been one of the controversial players on G2 when it comes to performance and consistency. And everyone wanted to see which version of Trick would show up, and I think he's done relatively well these 2 games. Definitely started well on the Jarvan today.
I feel like whenever we get towards playoffs and Trick has a bit of time to kind of prepare himself, he does much better. It's during the regular season or group stages he can struggle a lot. Wonder will have to use a defensive ulti in the bottom lane, one of the great uses of Kled in the long lanes, but we get the same kind of 1-3-1 from Splyce in this game as we saw in the last one, but this time G2 can match. They have double TP, they have LeBlanc and Cho'Gath. Senkooks with the Rune King is still far away from his Black Cleaver because he's going Hexdrinker, obviously, from the first item. So it's interesting to kind of follow how Splyce needs these armor-shredding items to really start threatening the Cho'Gath enough. And they're getting there. They have one now on Kled. They need another one on Senkooks.
So we're approaching 20 minutes, and despite the scaling being in favor of G2, there's still a window of opportunity, still a way for Splyce to take control. Mickey gonna get chunked down a lot. If Perkz had stuck around, that death sentence would have connected. And looking through the rest of the itemizations, Gunblade for Perkz, good chunk of damage, and the Deadly Flourish flies past. Righteous Glory engage for Expect. Black Cleaver is completed for Wonder. That's what you wanted to see, Deficio. Now I want to see what he can do with it, because he needs a tank, not Perkz, to fight against.
Yeah, he wants to go against the Cho'Gath. Obviously, Senkooks with the Hexdrinker to try and match Perkz, but what happens so often with LeBlanc, especially when she's getting kills, is she goes to the side lane, she gets the priority, she can push first, and then she's so mobile, she can leave the lane very fast, like a Kled, and go towards the mid lane and just be super annoying. Force the enemy mid laners to back away, play defensive, and suddenly you lose the river control, you lose the mid pressure. And that is something Perkz is looking to do here, but because both teams are actually playing 1-3-1 against each other, we get this mid-game that can be a little bit slow, because they're all trying to just push against each other and then roam and see if they can catch one guy. This is not the standard 1-4 comp with 300 engages and you just ram into each other in the mid lane.
The ARAM style,
the ARAM style.
You will.
Both teams have the options to engage, but because they're trying to play side lanes, they don't have enough members to force 5-on-5 teamfights.
So, Deficio, this is where I want to see how the teams have adapted between games. 20 minutes in, G2 actually have a lead this time around. Splyce previously did not. And Splyce took a very long time to break open that mid outer turret. I want to see what they do with their vision. Perkz has already roamed after shoving the top lane in. So this could be how G2 decides to play it.
But you really need the mid tower down before you really open up the 1-3-1. For now, you're just kind of playing for the river to get Dragon priority. Perkz pushes, goes in. That means his team can go to the Dragon. Now Perkz has to go back top lane and catch the big wave that Senkooks is pushing, and they have to kill the Dragon in time. And then they kind of trade. Splyce can then maybe go Rift Herald and say, okay, oh, sorry, he's actually gone by now 20 minutes, so sucks for you, Splyce. No Rift Herald. You could have done it if it had been a few minutes earlier, but
not the case.
You get the point. You know, they keep trading who can move first and do something first.
And this is a good sign for G2 if you're part of the G2 army or supporter, because this is where they're comfortable with their lead, playing the map, pushing a wave, taking an objective fairly safely, fairly securely, and just building up. All of the headroom, all of the scaling favors G2 in many ways. And as long as G2 don't give up more objectives or make mistakes, they're happy to play for late game and win there.
Sometimes though, when you go full late game against like multiple AD carries and even a Kled, they start having so much damage they can actually get through a tank.
Right.
But obviously there is 2 tanks on the side of G2 they got to deal with. And the problem is, again, as a highlight, the fact that Jarvan can engage onto this Jhin so easily means that Cobby should never survive. If he survives one fight, he uses Flash, and then the next fight he dies.
So what is the win condition for Splyce at this point? You know, they are behind marginally. It's pretty even in terms of map control, though nobody's taken over just yet.
It's actually really hard because the Lucian has not really been snowballing in this game here. The Kled is not stomping their lane against Cho'Gath, who's literally stacking 200 armor at 22 minutes. So Splyce might have to rely on trying to get a kill around the Senkooks lane and then see if they can maybe force a Baron play from that. But it's hard to do this early in the game.
All right, Tricks engage on.
Like, look at bot lane. He's like, screw this, I'm not even going to hit you. Like, you don't take any damage.
No, that Bramble Bear's doing so much work. Lantern's available here for Mickey. Death Sentence finds Perks. Deadly Flourish as well. Curtain Call comes out as Perks flashes to safety. Perks manages to get the kill credit. Now all of a sudden Trashy's in trouble. Senkax comes down. He's exhausted. No Cataclysm is available as the culling starts to fully channel. Expect, where's the feast? He can nom. A single target. Cobby manages to get the W onto Perks, but he steps on a trap. Expect flash noms and takes down Cobby.
And as we just said here, like, the amount of plays the Splyce can do, they're very limited in the game here because they have not been getting advantages for the two split pushers. Senkax is going even in his lane, and Kled right now is actually struggling a little bit against this massive Cho'Gath. And going into fights, G2 Esports with their strong front line managed to stay alive during the engage, and while Perks did get caught out, I managed to step out in time to see the game. So Perks goes in, gets CC'd, nice play here. Mickey with a good hook as well. But now, Black Shield to block any sort of further CC, and then rest of G2 steps away. We did jump back in here because I think Perks almost killed Senkax.
Yeah, I feel like Perks got a lot of damage. Another good Death Sentence onto Perks. He goes golden from the Hourglass. Dark Binding roots down Mickey. The chain actually tags Senkax, and he's trying to play forward. He's still got that Hex Drinker passive, as well as Flash and Heal. Senkax now takes a Q to the face, as Perks decides to stick around in this lane. And Deficio, G2 have got a sizable lead. They got the mid-outer turret, and now they can take over the map.
Yeah, and let's just look at the armor on Expect, Trick, and Perks. So Expect currently sitting with 220 armor. Trick, 187, and Perks, the mid laner, 140 armor this early on in the game against pure physical damage.
And does that mean you can play around Baron? Because your tanks, look, they're not taking damage. All right, Miffy's going to be a threat to going down.
A little bit.
He's taken out. Baron is secured by the Feast of Expect, but it's not available for the follow-up fight. Trick puts a Cataclysm down to buy some time. Double kill for Cobby. He's trying to cut off the escape route. Deadly Flourish onto Expect. Another kill secured by Splyce. Okay, G2 got Baron, but they lost 3.
Lost 3 members there. Maybe should never have died in the first place. I don't think he was ready with his Black Shield for the hook, but Splyce getting a few kills in return is good for them. Trying to get a mid lane tower for all their trouble, but still losing the objective this early is hard because they actually needed that Baron on their side to start snowballing the game. Black Cleaver will be completed when Senkax goes back to base for even more armor shred, but they need a lot of time before they kill the tanks, and they only get a tower. Oh, Perks!
All right, another good Death Sentence. Perks seems to be catching all of them, as Mickey feels like he's got a bit of a homing beacon on that one.
I mean, Mickey's landing all of them, Perks is catching all of them. Great synergy between him and the support on the side of Splyce.
It is coming up to football season, so they're just playing a bit of catch, you know? Spinning it back and forth. Look at me with them pop culture references, Deficio.
I don't know.
Not really fair.
Kind of old man lame thing. So, yeah, Mithy's Black Shield just comes in after he's actually been, you know, locked down. He dies, and then no flash from Expect. Trashy and the rest of Splyce were able to kill Trick fairly easily. And it was a good call, in my opinion, to rush down the Baron with the Cho'Gath. I think Splyce, though, reacted fast enough to actually get something in return.
Yeah, another good team fight from Splyce, something we've seen more and more. Mithy, of course, yes, he did die that previous game, but Mithy, controversially being voted on the All-EU LCS team, has had a less flashy split. You can see some of his death per game definitely improving from Spring, but you cannot doubt the value that he provides the team. One of the primary shot callers, one of the primary disengage supports over the last couple of weeks.
One of the guys who's been in the LCS the longest as well, and every single team Mithy has ever been on suddenly understood how to play the map much more than they used to. They trying to play a lot smarter, at least when he's one of the shot callers. And I think just the main reason Mithy was voted in as #1 is just a lot of respect from the other pro players and teams.
Yep.
In the EU LCS, putting a lot of value in what he's bringing to the table.
And of course, they play against Mithy and G2 in scrims, which impacts how teams and players vote. Let's see whether or not G2 can escape. Cataclysm goes all the way back in. Trick will be the target. A silence from the Feral screen comes down for Expect. Now Cobby and Wonder need to somehow deal with the tanks. Wonder's already dropped. Perks has finished a flank from the side. He's looking for Cobby. Body Slam will buy some time as the Hourglass keeps the 80s alive for a few seconds more. Very good slow barrel on the Q from Trashy. Full channel on the culling. So far, it's a 2-for-1 in favor of G2.
And we keep seeing the same problems here for Splyce. They can kill one guy, but it already takes a lot of time Then there's another one joining, a massive Cho'Gath or 140 armor LeBlanc. And they don't have the damage to take down the front line of G2 and still also escape the damage dealers. Like Perkz with a good flank in this fight after they've already killed one guy in the front, and Splyce find himself in a super, super tough spot.
4,000 gold, it's 3 dragons, 4 towers to 2. I mean, we're approaching 30 minutes into the game, and G2 have once again had a superior mid-game. However, they've also had a better early game, and there's a replay of how this fight started. It actually looked pretty good to begin with.
Yeah, they tried to all in on Sven, but he gets the Black Shield, and while they're killing Trick, like, it still took quite some time for Trick to actually die, and the rest of G2 can now join. Perkz is running from the bottom lane, and this Cho'Gath is not gonna die at any point. And once the flank happens from the LeBlanc, Cobby is forced to flash out. Hourglass comes in from Perkz, and no one will drop here, and the rest of Splyce needs to run away. And this means there's no flash from Cobby in the next fight, if G2 Esports will actually find the engage onto him. And Sven sat back, enjoyed his life, dealt 5,000 damage.
And he was the initial target of the engage, remember? Kled charged. I think I got body blocked by Trick.
Trick saved him.
There we go. Trick saved him.
Beautiful moment. He jumped in front.
Yeah. And Trick, by the way, 237. His team's got 10 kills, been there for 9 of them. Once again, just one of those players that is showing up. Right, Cobby gets caught by Ace in the hole. Splyce,
oh, he's not flash!
Somewhat split up. Is able to get away from that rupture. Now, Expect is sitting on around 5 and a bit thousand HP. He's being hammered on by 4 members of Splyce, and it doesn't matter. Wonder, are you brave enough to call charge? Not just yet. Here comes Expect, gets caught by a death sentence. Keep your eyes on the AD carries. The damage dealers for G2 are coming in, and Senkux is caught out. The Ethereal Chain's locked him down. Cataclysm takes him out. Cobby's waiting for the reloads as the curtain call onto Perkz won't be enough. Sven and Perkz escape with their lives. Mythic gets tagged by a bunch, and Mickey, he's gonna get dropped by the Distortion Orb. Cobby and Trashy backing away. Rupture, Feral Scream, where's the feast? Not gonna be enough for the nom nom nom. Instead, Trick is going to look for the kill shot. Perkz takes it in the end. 4 members down, and G2 are opening the base.
It's a one-sided game 2 here. Early game, it backfired when Splyce tried to kill Cho'Gath in the top lane. G2 Esports, they made a big play in the bottom lane with the TP from Perkz. And suddenly, they were sitting with 6 kills early on, and a composition that could stack armor and just survive in these fights here. Everything on the side of Splyce is screaming physical damage. Multiple AD carries and the Kled. And everything on the side of G2 is screaming stack defensive items.
Yep.
Get armor as fast as possible and never die.
And they met that win condition. G2 have got 6 towers down. They've got supers in the middle lane. Baron's up in 50 seconds, so I see a pretty clear way to close this one out.
Yeah.
The defending champion.
So the fight starts here with a bit of damage onto Expect, and then Wonder actually gets onto Sven in the back line, and he almost took him down. You can see how after Perkz Hourglass, he's onto the Caitlyn, but he's alone. There's no follow-up. The Jhin ulti comes in, but won't really help him. Cobby ends up staying safe in the back, but he's already seen his mid laner die right in front of him, and without them having multiple members that can dive the Caitlyn, it's not enough with just the Kled, as we saw in this fight. And therefore, you actually have to kite, but you can't kite because you're against all these tanks.
Yep, very difficult to get away. Wonder's not being run down. It's a decent amount of damage. Survives longer than expected thanks to the help of Skarl. 50% on that charge bar. Sidesteps are up, you can't get away from that.
Nope.
I'm always surprised by how quick Feast actually hits. Whenever I am playing in-game, there's no time to react. If Cho'Gath is close enough to nom, you get nommed and that's it. GG.
Potential nerf. Super slow norm animation.
I mean, that would help. Give me some time to do something.
Oh, Senkux behind.
Right. Can he win this fight? I mean, Trashy's got BF sword and cloth armor. Senkux against Trick, of course.
Fighting his own jungler.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Trashy.
No, I said Trashy. I messed it up.
You trolled
and
me.
I messed you up.
Anyways, the question was, could he have won that fight?
Possibly, yes. He does have Black Cleaver and Blade. But it would take him long enough for G2 to probably show up and kill him.
Okay, all right. So we'll never get to see that fight, unfortunately. G2 may not even need a fight, as they're easily able to secure this Baron uncontested. 32 minutes, and now it's starting to look maybe starting to look like some people expected. You know, G2, they traded, they had some back and forth plays, but they just accelerated their lead in the mid game. Thanks to the team comp and thanks to the weaknesses maybe on the Splyce composition as well.
Yeah, and the Lucian came in as the first pick for Splyce in this draft here, and then the next rotation they picked up the Jhin. So it already shown both, you know, mid and AD carry there. And we were kind of looking at top lane, and then normally you would see like a Rumble or an AP Cannon, like something like that. Cannon was removed.
Rumble was open as well.
Rumble was open if they wanted to pack more AP damage. I'm not saying they would have won them the game,
no.
but at least you have a more well-rounded comp where, in case you did fall behind early game, the game wouldn't just be kind of lost straight away. As we've seen here, as soon as they didn't execute the early ganks, G2 Esports have been in full control all game long.
So this is where teams will now start talking about the next game, especially Splyce. What do they need to change? Now, this team composition didn't have the same finesse as the game one did.
Yeah, there was just no backup plan. There was no like, wait a minute, the first step backfired.
Yeah.
What is our backup now? Last game, it was that Camille Morgana engaged on Tristana at 6 items.
Yes.
Or in the late game, that actually worked. This time here, it is very difficult to go so late in the game that you actually have enough damage to kill the front line of G2 and still survive the LeBlanc and Caitlyn.
Well, super confident push into the base for G2 with Baron. They take down the bottom inhibitor, and before even, you know, letting G2 back away from the base, Expect completed his teleport top lane, and now they've already got this minion wave making their way down. So Splyce, no backup plan this time around. It ends up backfiring and putting them back in the hot seat. All right, silence onto Trashy. He's going to be able to dash away for now. On the back end, Wonder's trying to distract Mickey. Finds a death sentence onto Mickey. There's no follow-up damage. Redemption comes down for G2. And the fight does continue. Rupture catches out Cobby. He flashes away before the silence connects. Cataclysm comes down from Trick. This time around, Sven is caught by the death sentence, but it's trivial for G2 Esports. They get themselves a couple of kills. They get themselves a couple of turrets. And they're going to get themselves a win in the second game. The Nexus is falling, and G2 even the series 1-1.
From a back and forth first game, we get a controlled win from G2 Esports. Hectic start.
Yes. 11
minutes in, we had like 5 different gangs happening. We had double TPs. Everything went crazy. But almost every fight went in favor of G2. A lot of credit to Perks on LeBlanc. First top lane TP, then bot lane TP after. Getting a lot of kills early here for the G2 side.
Yep.
And then with the full AD comp, well, when you fall behind, you're not going to kill anyone.
And of course, Trick's early game. You know, he was everywhere Trashy was. He responded. He set up ganks himself. I mean, what he did, 3, 13, 16 on the team's 18 kills. The only reason I do talk about him is, as we mentioned, we had these expectations. How is he going to show up? What's he going to do? And the answer is pretty clear. A lot and very well.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting that Splyce banned away 2 AD carries on their side.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Kalista got banned on the red side by G2. And then, by first picking the Lucian, you actually gave over Jarvan and the only AD carry left with mobility in Caitlyn, making it even harder for Copy to actually have an impact.
So that Jhin question mark.
I'm not saying any specific pick lost them, but it is one of those trades in the draft where you kind of go, did you need to ban both of those AD carries? Could you have traded AD carries and get, like, you say they get Tristana, but you get Caitlyn, just as a quick example, even though I would prefer Tristana, but as a quick example, and then you still get your Lucian first pick, and you actually have an AD carry that can escape a Jarvan.
Well, it's one of those things that, you know, Splyce obviously committed to a strategy. It didn't work out. Very clear around the top lane what they wanted to do. So Splyce go into game 3 now, and this is where, you know, the old gods of EU LCS G2, they have taken over series.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna?
After a game like this, they're definitely gonna feel great going into the next one.
All right, confidence on the side of G2 after they came back from that very tough loss in game number 1. It started with the plays in the early game, didn't it, Shocks?
It most certainly did, and then it is, of course, the question, was Splyce a bit overzealous, and did G2 just bounce back so well in the next game that they were able to pick up the lead, and it's kind of a 50-50. We're going to take a look at a bunch of plays from the early game, 2 in specific, starting in the top lane where... So that's the question, right? Is it unlucky for Splyce and misplayed, or is it just well played by G2, February?
I mean, really well played by G2, obviously, by instantly going. I think Splyce misplayed because I think Trashy should have waited in the bush and predicted Trick to come. and he was like 5 seconds away, so it also wouldn't have kind of failed his flash. He should have flashed differently, so he would have survived. And then here, they tried to make the play again, but they don't realize LeBlanc has TP maybe, and so she just counter-ganks and they get 3 kills. But yeah, even after this, Splyce have pretty good lanes, like Lucian into LeBlanc. He will still win, even though she has 2 kills. And then Kled against Cho'Gath, Kled also still wins.
But at the same time, bottom this happened.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of was really bad for Splyce because they didn't actually get anything besides summoners. And then, yeah, they both died, so the bot lane got really behind.
It was a common thing that these two were talking a lot about was it's weird that Splyce are trying to make so many plays when the TP is actually still available for the LeBlanc, right? Something you always have to respect is Perkz' ability to join the fight and swing it in their favor. And multiple times throughout this early game, Perkz was a big part of what enabled G2 to have a pretty good start to the game.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start. And then if we take a look at the picks and bans in just a second, when you're in that position, when G2 is ahead, Various, you were talking a lot about the specific picks and who would do best in a team fight in the middle of the game. And it looked like it was already in G2's favor.
Well, one of the big things is the fact that G2, Splyce rather, drafted himself a full AD composition. And talking at length with Febiven about this mid lane matchup in particular, the Lucian needs to snowball in order to have an impact in the mid game, because when you only have AD, it's very easy to itemize against it.
Right, and there was also some discussion about the AD carry bans and then the Jhin. I think it was the idea you said, well, I think they really did want to pick the Jhin. It wasn't that they were in a bad position.
I think the Jhin into Caitlyn is something I guess they're preparing for, because when you first pick Lucian, you're already going to lower your comp CC-wise, because Lucian has a speed up on his W, and that's pretty much it for CC. So I think that's why they prepped the Jhin into Caitlyn, because the Jhin starts Storm's Ring, and he can out-push the Caitlyn early. Caitlyn got another nerf this patch. And then it kind of, adds into the CC for the mid-game fights. But the only problem is they're running full AD again, and there's no, like, gimmick with this comp. Like, the last game, you know, they could one-shot the Tristana, and it doesn't matter if they're full AD if you kill their AD carry. And then this comp, they're again full AD, but, you know, how do they get to the Caitlyn, or how do they get to the LeBlanc? There's no easy route that this team has to actually, you know, make it successful.
You mentioned gimmick, which would imply that Splyce has no way to beat G2 without it. Is that also what you mean? Like, they need to find in this series something like that, because standard, it's probably not going to work out?
I mean, I think that's what's going on right now, because Splyce has shown, like, all split that they play normally pretty standard meta stuff, and now they're going for like, these full AD comps, like, really dive. I think this is what they're kind of preparing for against G2. They maybe just don't feel comfortable playing like a normal, team fight style against them without having something surprising.
Well, it is a bit puzzling also to me, because they do come out with a vastly different draft. Obviously, the bans were different as well, but there is no really inherent super synergy in terms of team fights either, and not any combat mechanics or safety net.
The problem for me was that you couldn't look at the comp and you can be like, okay, yes, there are a few question marks. It doesn't have a gimmick. There are a few things that are arguably wrong with it. But at the same time, they had an abysmal start to the game. And they didn't respect the LeBlanc TP. So I think execution was a big part of why they fell behind so far in this game. And I want to see them now maybe draft something more meta. Maybe challenge G2 to something that fits within that style. And then do not make those same kind of early game mistakes.
Well, to round off the analysis and praise G2 for what was a very clean snowball in the end when they did get the advantage, we're going to take a look at a couple of fights here that they execute. Even though it looks like Perkz gets caught, Febiven, he is fantastic and he escapes.
Well, yeah, here the trash shouldn't jump in for sure, because he has no flash anymore, and he's just dead. And then here, they kind of try to chase the fight, but like the tanks are too strong from G2, and they cannot kill the Cho'Gath, and the backline of like Sven is just untouched all the time, so they just can't win the fight anymore.
Yeah, they can run rampant with it. A very good showing from G2 in Game 2, and also as we see Perkz here on stage. So we're going into Game 3. G2 has selected blue side for that, and now, of course, the ball is again in G2's court, because this is what everyone expected them to do, Veria. So we need to see a drastic departure or a drastic change for Splyce.
I think the big thing for me is I'm still waiting for Splyce to bring something more meta to the table. I think Game 1, their composition eventually made sense. They had a really good start to the game, and their mid-game was just something a little bit shaky. I'd like to see a little bit more confidence in their mid-game playmaking. I want to see someone like Mickey being able to make the same sort of plays that he has done in the past, and reform or return to that sort of big playmaking stuff.
Febivin, does Splyce take another game in this series?
I think if they draft like this, no. But if they get some AP in the mix, maybe they can. Like, I think the comp was fine because like they had like the winning mid, they had like the winning top, and the bot lane, I don't know. So like they have these things that actually work. But like if you fall behind so hard early, in the early game, then you just those comps fall apart. So I think they have to take something more balanced. Like the first game, I think they had a lot of AD, but still had like this insane pick potential and like this combination. So they should try to get something like this again, I think.
Need to rethink their drafts. While both teams are fighting to get an edge in the series, join us as we hit the Rift for Game 3 right after this.
And the damage, the vicious strikes, body slam, flash, junglers trading positions, first blood available, wanders the target, Trick takes him down.
Nice. Good job, good job.
Oh, this was supposed to be Splyce's gank.
Teleport's coming down, it's Perks that's channeling it. Flash is available to him, he flashes forward, the chain doesn't find a target. Cobby's gone in for Miffy, not gonna find the deadly flourish. Cobby's reloading on Whisper, and G2 get 2.
Oh my god.
Oh, that reloading sucked for Cobby. He didn't get the kill.
G2 are coming in, Zenkex is caught out. The Ethereal Chain's locked him down, Cataclysm takes him out. Cobby's waiting for the reloads as the curtain call onto Perks won't be enough, but it's trivial for G2 Esports. They get themselves a couple of kills, they get themselves a couple of turrets, and they're going to get themselves a win in the second game. The Nexus is falling, and G2 even the series 1-1.
From a